Football League tonight, where this week it's all about the Sky Bet Championship.
Yes, there are some huge games as well at the top and at the bottom. It's a week of more turns as well on the manager's merry-go-round. We'll have news of a couple of surprises also for league clubs in the FA Cup.
Now, just before we kick off, football has been marking this Remembrance Weekend. At grounds across the country, players and supporters reflected on those who lost their lives in conflict.
Our lead match today comes from Huddersfield, one of the clubs who sacked their manager this week. The end came after Tuesday's game at Reading. Huddersfield had twice been in the lead in this one, then conceded this late equaliser from Reading's Ola John. And that was it. Chris Powell's last game as manager. A difference in football philosophy, we're told, rather than results. That was the reason given. Anyway, Powell's replacement will be this guy, David Wagner. He was the best man at Jurgen Klopp's wedding. A better qualification, perhaps, though, for the job is that he coached Borussia Dortmund's second team. He takes over at Huddersfield as head coach from Monday. His trust in young players was the decisive factor.
Today's opponents, Leeds, aren't exactly a bedrock of stability either. We should only be talking about this wonderful goal from Alex Mowat that earned Leeds their first home victory since March and a first win under Steve Evans. But the saga continues.
It does. Massimo Cellino, there he is. He withdrew his offer to sell the club to the fans on Wednesday morning, as predicted, actually, by the Football League paper journalist Chris Dunleavy on this very show last week. We understand the club is still up for sale, but that Cellino won't sell to Leeds Fans United.
So plenty to be going on with behind the scenes, but on the pitch, this West Yorkshire derby provided some thrilling action. Commentaries from Gary Weaver with Don Goodman.
Antonucci. There's the ball straight to Wells. This is Billing, the Danish midfielder. 19-year-old gets it back from Wells. Dempsey trying to remain onside, and Billing has found it. Lolly on the outside here. Lolly moving inside onto that left foot of his. That's what he loves to do, and get the shot away.
Well, that is brilliant, brave defending from Liam Cooper, because that was a dangerous moment. Arguably the first one of the game at either end. But this is a man full of confidence, and that shows you how much confidence. But credit Liam Cooper, out like a flash. Brilliant defending.
Kind of defending that may well be needed as this derby goes on. Leeds United have got themselves a corner here.
Well, they never really looked as if there was enough pace on the ball for Jason Davidson to do this. It wasn't going to go out on its own steam.
Murphy standing over it. Cooper's just hit the deck in the middle. Seems to be a clash of heads there between Cooper and Scott Wootton.
This is not in the script, or off the training ground. It's Cooper and Wootton, and that is really painful one.
The stretcher is on already.
Yeah, it really doesn't look good. And let's just hope that that's not too serious.
Both sets of fans and the players applauding as Liam Cooper leaves the pitch on a stretcher. Our best wishes go with him. Every care and attention and precaution being taken to make sure he's okay for that sickening clash with Scott Wootton. By Wootton on bum.
Well, cynical. No choice for Graham Scott but to give him a yellow card for that. I don't know why players complain about receiving yellow cards when it's that blatant. Look, nowhere near the ball.
There's Billing. Harry Bunn again. First thought is always to drive towards the penalty area.
Well, that's brilliant to see, isn't it? Liam Cooper on his feet, up and about.
Now, Huddersfield yesterday discovered that this man has a long throw. Billing. Well, towards that near post, looking to cause a problem or two, and it leads to a corner.
Oh, that was a long throw, isn't it?
Lolly's corner finding Bunn. Able to link up with Lolly again, but gets a second chance. That's Whitehead. Lolly, nicely done. It's Bunn. And the first real save of the game is made by Silvestri.
Well, Narky Wells was in the middle, arms out after that. Was gathered by Marco Silvestri. They get a lucky break there, but then it's well worked. Lolly and Bunn.
There's the Huddersfield chairman, Dean Hoyle, the man who made his money in the greetings card industry. He wants this club to be self-sufficient, which is why the plan is for that man there, David Wagner, to develop players, sell them on for a profit. Whitehead.
He's looking for a forward pass, but he hasn't got movement ahead of him, and that's why they've just given the ball away.
Leeds United snapping into the challenge. Moore with the run. Wood picks up the baton, and Wood is seen off by Wallace.
Again, I think the reason that neither goalkeeper has really had a save to make is the decision-making in the final third. Both teams have had good situations. That was a good situation.
Wood the target here. Now it's Mowat. And Murphy was concerned.
Well, there's a Huddersfield Town defender. I think it's Joe Lolly, is it? Yeah, back there, taking a risk, not clearing his lines, and fortunate that Alex Mowat couldn't pick out a teammate.
Hughes.
Oh, he's already been
Taken out by Wootton, who is on a yellow card.
Look at the Huddersfield players there, all around Graham Scott. The referee doesn't need that. He needs to decide for himself, without any assistance from Huddersfield, whether this is another yellow card. The answer is emphatically it should be. Whether it will be or not, I don't know.
Well, he's calling Sol Bamba across here as well, which you would assume he's off the hook.
Very, very lucky boy. Another terrible challenge. And I don't think you need any help for challenges like that. I'm certain had Scott Wootton not been yellow carded already, he would have for that.
There's Dallas into a great area, and there to apply the finish was Mirko Antonucci.
This is where football isn't fair sometimes. Huddersfield will feel absolutely fuming that they're still playing against 11 men. Onside, and that is a brilliant ball to pick out Antonucci, who's made a good run off the back of Murray Wallace, and he ends up with a tap-in. And he's given Leeds United a lead here. Yeah, a wonderful cross. Has to be said, the first real quality of the game, wasn't it? In that final third.
He's onside here. Could be more punishment for Huddersfield Town. It's a heavy touch from Antonucci. Cook is there in the middle, and that's Chris Wood. And Leeds United double their advantage. They have sprung into life deep in injury time at Huddersfield.
Well, this time they get a massive helping hand from Martin Craney, the Huddersfield right back, who just thinks this ball through is going aimlessly back towards his goalkeeper. And then the forward does really well. He's not looking for Chris Wood, he's looking for Lewis Cook, but it goes behind him. And Chris Wood, like a predator, is following up, and he gets himself an easy tap-in.
There's Dempsey. Nice trick from Dempsey. Then fires the shot. Silvestri right behind it.
Very, very comfortable for Silvestri. A deflection maybe takes the pace out of it.
This is Alex Mowat. That is another special. Another one for the scrapbook from Alex Mowat. He only scores special goals.
Well, I've been watching him for, a couple of seasons now, and I don't think I've seen him score anything other than a spectacular goal. Then you wondered, could he outdo the striker Ellen Road on Tuesday night? I think the answer is an emphatic yes.
And that man there, the man who will take charge of this club on Monday, David Wagner, who swapped the Borussia Dortmund second team for Huddersfield Town. There's plenty of work to do. Whitehead, Davidson. This now is James Vaughan, and Silvestri stretched for the first real time this afternoon.
This is the first big save Silvestri has had to make.
Emmy Hughes, Swansea's academy, then Manchester City's. This is Bunn, Silvestri in the way again. Now it's Vaughan who got that all wrong. But two big saves from Marco Silvestri in this game.
Oh, another good save from Silvestri, from Harry Bunn, who's arguably been the pick of the Huddersfield players, hasn't he?
There's Bataka. Chance to show what he's all about. There's a step over. There's a change of pace. There's the shot. And there's the save.
First time Leeds have had back-to-back wins since March.
He's always said, Steve Evans, if you want promotion, call Steve Evans.
You know, there's a lot of babies in this team, and I've got no credit for that because that was previous people to me. But there's a lot of babies, but I'm going to give them the encouragement to play. I'm going to pick them. But we're going to have to work so hard. You see this off the bench, even at 3-0. And if you don't work hard for Leeds United, we don't want you as a player. It doesn't matter who you are. But we've gained nothing. We've won back-to-back fixtures. That was the objective we set before Cardiff, and the boys have achieved it.
I think anywhere else, if we hadn't got our first booking, I think it would have been a booking. Change the game, I don't know. But I'm not going to moan about bookings and all that. We've just got to focus on Huddersfield Town and going forward with the new guy, and then we'll take it from there.
We'll come to Huddersfield and where the future lies for them in just a minute, but our guest today is the former Leeds and Republic of Ireland defender Ian Hart. So we thought we'd start with a nice one for you, a 3-0 win for Leeds. Do you enjoy that?
Yeah, it was a perfect result, especially with a derby game against Huddersfield. And yeah, looking at the game today, I think Scott Watton was a very, very lucky lad.
Well, let's take a look at at what happened, because the first booking, I mean, you thought that was a definite yellow card.
Tries to get too tight to his man and takes him down.
So there's no real decision for the referee, Graham Scott, to make with this one. But having given him one yellow card, what do you make of this decision not to book him for the second one and send him off?
Well, it's definitely another yellow card, to be honest. He's a very, very lucky lad, because it would have been a different game if he had got sent off. And I think he's just relieved this evening that they got the win as well. Yeah,
well, keeping 11 men on the pitch, Leeds United went on to win 3-0. The third goal, though, was something special, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was pretty special. It's a goal that I would have been proud of myself, and it's great to see Alex Mowat now score 2 goals within the week, and it's great technique. He got out of his feet, and the keeper had no chance of getting that goal.
But you know what it's like to be one of the young players coming through at Leeds, and Steve Evans is hoping to encourage that. As he said, he's not taking any credit for it, but he does want to play these young kids.
Yeah, there's some great players that are coming through at Leeds, and it was quite a special time when I was there. Paul Hart, who was the U-team manager, he's back now in charge, and I'm sure he'll be looking to bring young lads through as well. So it's hopefully we'll see a few more in the future.
I mean, it's a blip for Huddersfield, but they've got a new manager coming in David Wagner. I mean, how long do you think it'll take before we start to see his impact on the team when he first takes charge?
Yeah, it looks quite a young squad, to be honest. I think they need a bit of experience in there to help the younger lads, but it is going to take time. It's obviously it's sad to see Chris Powell losing his job, and wish him all the best and hope to see him back in management pretty soon. But yeah, it's going to take time for a new manager to come in to kind of get his style of play, and hopefully can add a bit of quality as well.
For Huddersfield fans, I'm sure it can't come soon enough. For now, though, Ian, thanks very much. And we're going to take a look at the top of the table when we return.
Welcome back to Football League tonight. We've already brought you a Yorkshire derby. Now we have an East Midlands derby featuring two sides at opposite ends of the table for the time being.
Yes, Derby County flying at the moment, unbeaten in 10, whereas Nottingham Forest haven't won in 8 league games. So perhaps not the most welcome game for Dougie Freedman at the moment, considering that this fixture has cost Billy Davis and Nigel Clough their jobs in recent years, although a win over their rivals could go a long, long way to easing the pressure on him. Your commentary for this one comes from Bill Leslie and Andy Hinchcliffe.
Here's Russell. Martin. Now Ward. Oliveira. Mendes. Johnny Williams, the man in the middle. Here's Ward. Oliveira. Might get another bite at it here, Nelson Oliveira. He does! Oh, goodness me, he does! Nelson Oliveira catapults himself into Nottingham Forest hearts. They found the way to goal, all right. Forest 1, Derby 0.
Well, there might be a slight touch of good fortune in here. I'm sure the ball maybe just comes off Richard Keogh on its way past Scott Carson, but what a positive start from Forest. They're under so much pressure after the run they've been on.
Up against Thorne, beyond him. Now finding Oliveira again. Jamie Ward! That is a magnificent save at full stretch from Scott Carson to pick it round.
Once again on the counter-attack, Stephen Warnock caught the field, the left back for Derby, completely out of the play. Quite brilliant hit round the post.
Martin, Russell, Hendrick. Oh, and it grazed the top of the crossbar.
Well, this would have been absolutely sensational. The layoff, I think, just tempted him into the shot. And what, 6 inches low, and this is nestling in the top corner. But this is what they're capable of, Derby.
Ward. Williams finding a pocket of space. He wants the return. Williams feeds Lansbury. Now Oliveira. Lansbury. Oh, Lansbury! He suddenly hit that. He hit it just wide.
You can't allow him to shoot from this type of range. It's a howitzer of a shot that could easily have been 2-0.
A recent story from Nottingham Forest in that 8-game winless run has been of chances created and failure to convert them. They converted one here. I just wonder why they are having a decent spell in the match, whether they need to take another. Might be one up and coming here from Mendes.
This is what playing as a lone striker is all about. Oliveira, the layoff, the weight of the layoff for Ryan Mendes, absolutely superb. It is, of course, about scoring goals when you're playing as a striker, but involving those attacking midfield is absolutely key, and Oliveira did a great job there.
Mills unmarked. You would have heard the whistle before. You were very quickly Simon Hooper.
Pushing and shoving from both players. I'll tell you what, that's a big call from the referee. I'm not sure how. How do you come away with a free kick from that? Could easily have been a penalty.
Hendrick lets a run through to Johnny Russell. Russell! The Breeze palms it away as far as Vyman. Mendes away.
This is right down the throat of the goalkeeper, but they're just starting just to sit off and allow Derby to get their shots away, and they can't keep doing that.
So, good delivery, and Debris comes with cannons behind for a corner.
Well, Matt Mills is one of those defenders who loves a bit of a defensive tussle. He gets caught wrong side here against Richard Keogh. And there's a pull of the shirt. I think the referee's actually concentrating on the ball and the goalkeeper. He doesn't see it. But to me, that's a clear foul.
Vaughan pops it up for Johnny Williams. Vaughan, who has had an excellent game so far. Benillos. Pinillos. Still Pinillos. Still Pinillos. Mendes. How important will that turn out to be from Stephen Warnock, who took it off his toes?
It seems to be great defending from Stephen Warnock, but Ryan Mendes coming in at the far post, the open goal gate, and surely, we've got to say, there's absolutely no way a fullback is going to stop me scoring here.
Mendes. Lansbury. Mendes.
It seems to be Jason Shackle with the final touch there. Scott Clarkson maybe got a bit fortunate.
Ince. Butterfield. Ince. Christie. Really await the ball in the box. Bent.
Certainly the right idea, getting cross defenders, getting a foot table on the ball, but he's so far out, so little pace on the head eventually. It's a very comfortable save. The first save really De Vries has had to make.
A fabulous Friday for Forest. Derby joy for Dougie Freedman. From the lowest of the low, a run of 8 without a win. They have hit the highs here against their big rivals. Nelson Oliveira's early goal in the first half, enough to see them to 3 points. So valuable for so many reasons here. Derby, one of the informed sides, the Championship's big spenders, have been beaten here by Nottingham Forest.
It's a huge win for us. We're having a difficult moment over the last 3 or 4 games, but I thought, tonight we deserved that one. We've been playing fantastically well. We're a good side. We just haven't been having the breaks. But tonight, I thought our game plan, our energy, every single one of the players played to their best, and that's what gave us the victory.
Yeah, we looked a little bit leggy tonight. We've had difficult run of games, a lot of congestion of fixtures, but we've got to do better. We've got to be more consistent. We've got to do things more simply. We've got to work as a team.
I'd like to say to the players a big thank you, because it's difficult when you get difficult moments like these, but they stuck by me. I've stuck by them and made sure every one of them gets the applause tonight from me.
Dougie Freedman celebrating with a new pair of headphones, I think, there. Big win for Nottingham Forest. Just a 4th of the season, a 2nd at home. Dougie Freedman, a manager under pressure, he said commitment and discipline from his team won it for them.
Yeah, to be honest, it was very refreshing to see them go out and express themselves last night against a top-quality side in Derby that will be, come the end of the season, be there or thereabouts. And it didn't look like they turned up, to be honest, and it looked like Nottingham Forest wanted it more. And
they really pressed and harried at every opportunity, which is perhaps why they came away with the victory.
Yeah, I'm delighted for Dougie, because I think he's a great guy, good manager, and it's great to see the guys that went out and put on a shift, but they need to do that week in, week out.
When you're out of form, like Forest are Derby games like this sometimes nice ones to have, because they turn into a bit of a scrap sometimes.
Yeah, it's always difficult when it's not going well for you. You have to dig deep, and there's plenty of characters within that dressing room that that can obviously sort it out. And with Matt Mills, I played with him at Reading, so I'm sure he'll be speaking to the lads to try and sort it out. And great to see him get the result last night.
And for Derby County, this was perhaps unexpected. It was certainly a very underwhelming performance from them, and Paul Clement, who's had this terrific run, says it was a reality check for them.
Yeah, it just looked like a few of the players didn't turn up. Probably they thought Nottingham Forest weren't playing too well, and they thought they'd turn up and it was going to be an easy game.
Do you find that sometimes when you're on a good run? When Leeds were flying, did you turn up to some teams?
Yeah, of course there was on occasion where, I'm not saying you take your foot off the gas, but you think that the 3 points in the bag, and obviously you come unstuck.
Well, they did come unstuck. Full credit to Nottingham Forest. Derby, though, Kelly, will want to make sure very soon this is just a temporary blip on their promotion chase.
Yes, although that defeat for Derby was a rare slip for any of the teams at the top of a now traditionally congested Sky Bet Championship. Steve Bruce summed it up in midweek. He said, "We've set a ferocious pace, but every time we win, everyone else keeps winning." Well, as we saw, Derby didn't win, so the sides around them had a chance to take advantage. And if Hull beat Middlesbrough today, it would keep them in first place. Richard Henwood has the details from the KC Stadium.
It may be tight at the top, but Steve Bruce knows what it takes to guide a team to promotion. He's done it 3 times before, and the signs have been growing that he can do the same again. They had an early let-off against Borough as David Nugent dragged his shot wide. And just before half-time, they took advantage. Ahmed El Mohammadi's cross met by Mo Diame, who scored his second goal in 3 games. Borough knew a victory would have taken them above their opponents in the table, but their chances were few and far between. George Friend, with perhaps the best, kept out by Alan McGregor. Hull were finding it rather easier to create openings, and they scored again midway through the second half. David Myler's mishit shot made to look like a decent pass by Sam Clucas. Borough had gone into the game with the second best defensive record in the division, only Hull's was better. But for once they were showing signs of generosity. Friend's poor pass leading to the goal of the game from substitute Tom Huddleston. A 10th league match unbeaten and an impressive performance against one of their main promotion rivals. Exactly what Steve Bruce had in mind.
To beat Middlesbrough as comfortable as we did, it must have been a good performance. And some of our football at times was terrific. You know, we've set certain size standards over the last couple of weeks, and it's been difficult over the summer and getting over relegation, but the best way to bounce back is to have the squad like it is at the minute, which is determined and focused and desperate to go and achieve. And if we can keep the feet on the ground, then we've got a decent chance.
Last Tuesday we scored 1 goal, and when everybody was expecting to score the second or the third, we were calmer on the pitch, and today it was the same. We went to the pitch really well. We had a chance, and when we feel that we are comfortable and you are playing against a team like Hull, you have problems. So it's difficult to score against a team like them playing really well. So imagine if you don't play in the right way.
Well, Hull make the front page of the Football League paper. Magic moment with a picture of Mo Diame celebrating his goal for Hull. It was a comprehensive win for them against Middlesbrough, but they're both still very much in the mix for promotion, Ian. You've done it twice. What's the one thing, if you had to pick one, that teams that are chasing promotion need?
I think you need a bit of consistency. When I was at Reading, we weren't playing great football, but we were digging out results, and yeah, when you're not playing great football, it's all about getting together and grinding results out. And Hull, to be honest, they looked like they played some attractive football today. Middlesbrough started off the bright of the 2, but I think once Hull got in front, there was only one team that was going to win.
How hard is it to do that, to go out, to play badly and to get the win when you maybe don't, you haven't played the football that deserves it, but you know that you've got your eye on the prize? Yeah, well, again, I'm on about Reading. There was 2 teams that were above us, and we were way down the table. There was West Ham and Southampton, and I think that was 1 point. We were about 20 points adrift, and we just had a chat between the players, and we dug deep and went on a fantastic run. And it's I think the most important component is consistency, especially in the Championship. Yeah, know what you're aiming for, I suppose, which is the Premier League for them. Now, could the other leading sides in the Championship keep pace with Hull? Well, we're going to start with former leaders Brighton.
3 draws and only 1 goal in their last 3 matches suggested the Seagulls' wings might have been clipped of late, but Solly March had his own emphatic response to that notion inside the first 5 minutes. With the wind firmly in their sails, the home side were flying again, and they might have had a second shortly afterwards. Jamie Murphy doing the hard work down the left, and Tomer Hamed close but no cigar. For all their free-flowing football, there was a hint of fortune about their second. Sam Baldock's assist somehow found its way to Murphy, but he had no trouble finding the back of the net. That is something MK Dons have found fairly difficult to do in the Championship. Just 13 goals so far this season, but what they lack in quantity, they make up for in quality, as Nicky Maynard proved. Brighton had started the afternoon with more than half an eye on regaining top spot and a club record 17 league matches unbeaten. And with March in the mood, all that was missing was the Hamed finish. March is fast becoming a firm Brighton favourite, and the 21-year-old was a constant threat. He had no trouble repeatedly finding Hamed, but the Israeli striker was having one of those afternoons when he just couldn't find the target, although he was getting closer and closer and closer. But without a bigger cushion, there was always the chance of an MK Dons ambush. Samir Carruthers thought he'd been cleaned out in the penalty area, but referee Dean Whitestone disagreed, to leave the visitors beaten and bewildered.
There's no way that anybody in this stadium, from their staff to their players to the fans, could see any way how that wasn't a penalty. Sammy Coulthers has took the ball past him and he's cleaned them out.
Certainly it's a game that we deserve to win. I don't think anybody here would deny that. But with the amount of ball that we got into the final third, into real good goal-scoring areas, we should have made it more comfortable than what we did.
Burnley can't quite match Brighton's consistency, but they are looking harder and harder to beat. They went to Wolves protecting a 6-match unbeaten run. And in Andre Gray, they have a striker in form. It was to be a frustrating afternoon for him, though, as he tried to add to the 7 goals he'd scored in his previous 6 games. He wasn't the only much-admired striker doing his best to catch the eye. Wolves' Benik Afobe denied by Tom Heaton before the break. And in the second half, all the best opportunities fell to a Wolves side who struggled for league victories at Molineux this season. Afobe tried his luck again, and when Dave Edwards turned and shot wide from the edge of the penalty area, a record of just 2 home wins in 7 attempts was edging closer to 2 in 8. Burnley was certainly happier with a point, and when James Henry's late curler drifted wide, their manager was keen to take the positives.
We've just got another 7 points in a week. We're coming off the back of the last international break to this one unbeaten, got lots of points on the board. So, you know, there's real good signs about what we're about and different ways of getting points.
Yeah, it didn't happen for Andre Gray today. A word on that, Ian Hart, in just a moment. Let's start with Brighton, who win again. Carl Robinson absolutely fuming that they didn't get a penalty for that challenge on Carruthers. Has he got a point? Let's have a look.
As a manager, definitely. You look, the ball gets slid in behind the full-back there. And the centre half.
But he's not got the ball, has he?
No, definitely. It's a blatant penalty, and the ref has definitely missed that one.
I don't understand what he's seen. And I don't think he does either.
The guy on his knees, yeah. But no, for me it was a blatant penalty, and I'm sure Carl will be bitterly disappointed.
Some run from Brighton, though. They go on and win it. Take nothing away from them, beating that club record since 1931.
That's it. I have to say, with Chris Hughton, they're doing amazingly well this season, and long may it continue for them.
Wolves and Burnley, both managers reasonably happy, but Burnley 17 points out of 21 now. That's promotion form.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. Andre Gray was a bit quiet today, and I have to say I was impressed with Wolves. They brought in a few key players that are going to help the squad out, and you know, they had a few late chances late on the game, so 0-0. But for Burnley, it's a good point.
Yes, more from Ian, more from the Championship actually in a couple of minutes' time, and news of the latest managerial departure. We'll be right back.
Welcome back to Football League Tonight. Now, QPR are another team who've been in the headlines this week. Manager Chris Ramsey and first-team advisor Neil Warnock both saw the side lose to Derby on Tuesday. Warnock is now in temporary charge of the team after Ramsey got the sack on Wednesday night.
Well, Warnock's first opponents are a Preston side who haven't lost in 5 games. Here's Richard Henwood.
Mid-table in the Championship is not what QPR were looking for this season. And Neil Warnock's job, in the short term at least, is to make them upwardly mobile. Sandro almost provided the inspiration needed. The Brazilian and striker Charlie Austin are just a couple of the key figures Warnock needs to be on form. But Austin struggled to find his range against a team you wouldn't want to be facing at the moment. A good day in West London means Preston have now equalled the club record of 6 consecutive clean sheets, and they almost took all 3 points. Robert Green saved Bailey Wright's header, it finished goalless, and the man in temporary charge is uncertain what the future holds.
Is it just about helping at the moment? If you were offered the job, would you take it?
Well, I think you know, they'll have it in their own mind. You know, they've run the club for years. I'm here to help, so I'm sure they'll be asking me to talk to them about possible candidates, etc. But we had to get this game out of the way first. 2 weeks now to, you know, to talk about other things.
Would you want it though?
I think that I think I've got a role helping the club, but at my age, you know, crikey, it's a young man's game, isn't it? That's running about on the touchline.
So Neil Warnock is in temporary charge, but who will be the next manager of Queen's Park Rangers? Nigel Pearson, formerly of Leicester City, is at 6-5. Jimmy Floyd Hasselbank has already turned down an approach this season from a Championship club, but could he be tempted away from Burton? He's at 7-2. Now, Neil Warnock, we saw him doing the post-match interview there. It is temporary, but he hasn't ruled himself out of taking the job on a longer-term basis. He's at 9-2. Tim Sherwood, of course, knows Les Ferdinand from their days together at Spurs, is at 7-1. And Alan Stubbs, who the former Everton player, of course, is now manager at Hibs. They're second in the Scottish Championship, and he is at 10-1 to take over at QPR. But the club started their search for a new manager immediately.
Now, Cardiff City also have issues at the moment. 1 goal in the last 9 hours of football is a pretty awful return. Even worse when you realise that goal was an own goal. And that may or may not be one of the reasons behind a very worrying trend in attendances in the last couple of years or so. A drop after relegation from the Premier League, probably understandable, but a 32% fall on last year must be a real worry. A win today against Reading might do something to bring back the feel-good factor in Cardiff. Your commentator for this one, Paul Walker.
Connolly comes and wins it. Rawls. Mason's made a run to the edge of the box for him. In goes the cross, it's a good one! Oh, what a challenge from Taylor. What a challenge that was. Pilkington's ball in. It was a lovely delivery, and Taylor watched it all the way through. Noon was waiting to pounce. And Taylor to the rescue. I tell the crowd are just waiting for someone to provide a spark here. Gunnarsson. Jones wants it. Not close enough to him. Orlando Sarr is back there, but Jones got a touch, and this is Noon. He's being positive. Terrific run here. And Spielronde Habsey. I think Noon makes it easy for the goalkeeper. Need to push it further wide there. Craig Noon. And Habsey able to get down and make the stop. And Peltier fighting for the ball with Taylor. Noon does really well. Goes beyond Hector. And he just pushes his shot too close to the goalkeeper. Noon. And a good outlet, to be fair. Might have run into trouble here. Gunnarsson. Vedra has taken it from him. He's going to have to do this on his own, although he does have runners now. Orlando Sarr and now Blackman. It's a lovely weighted ball. It's Nick Blackman. It's a terrific save from Marshall. Cardiff's goalkeeper comes up big when it matters. And it all came from Aaron Gunnarsson's mistake in the middle of the park. Vedra knocks it off to Sarr, who measures that pass to perfection right into Nick Blackman's path. Here is Noon. Russell Slade has called on his players to be more creative, more positive in the final third. In fairness to Craig Noon, I think he read the memo, because every time he's getting the ball, he is looking to drive at this Reading defence. He was at it again here. Just 2 minutes to go to half-time. Sent in by Rawls. Oh, great ball in, Jones! The goal drought is finally at an end. Right on his forehead. And Al Habsey had absolutely no chance with this one. It is the kind of ball, the kind of delivery that Kenwyne Jones thrives on. And he puts it away beautifully. Cardiff City 1, Reading 0. Norwood volleys the cross in towards Blackman. Really good ball in. Orlando Sarr. Oh, he's weaved his way through. And Marshall with a fantastic save again. 2 top draw saves from David Marshall in this first half. And you cannot underestimate this one. Norwood with a brilliant ball in. Blackman's knocked down. Sarr does everything right. But David Marshall makes himself big at his near post, spreads himself. And that should get Cardiff to half-time, 1-0 up. Leave it over the 6-yard box. Oh, Habsey came flying for the ball. Well, he's got away with that one. How much he actually got on it, I'm not entirely sure. He went diving for this. Well, he did get his knuckles to it. Right over the 6-yard box and a header from Connolly!
Well, they waited 9.5 hours for a Cardiff player to score coming into this, and they've got 2 in one afternoon. And it's Matthew Connolly who thumps a header home from the corner. Al-Habsi helpless as it flies past him. And Cardiff have some breathing space. This is Norwood. To switch the play out to Blackman. Gunter. Oh, he's found Blackman. It's Nick Blackman! And Marshall behind it. Firm hands. It was a crisp enough hit, this. Blackman pounces onto it. Looks for the shot low into the corner. Rawls. Into Morrison. Peltier. Lovely touch from Kenwyn Jones. Gunnarsson juggles it beyond Hector. It's Gunnarsson. He'll take it himself. He's desperately unlucky. He had 3 options to his left. Aaron Gunnarsson just lifts it over Michael Hector and powers his way into the box. He could have squared it for either Mason or Pilkington. Went for glory himself, and it's wide of the far post. Taylor. Ola John moving the ball with a bit more urgency now. Ola John finding Norwood. He can hit them from this kind of distance and has hit it. Pushed away by Marshall. And David Marshall, every time he's been called upon, has come up with the goods. Saving here from Oliver Norwood. Not just to push the ball away to safety, it's a smart save as well. Hooked forward by Noon, and Sardi will chase it down. A missed kick from Hector. It's Sardi. It's saved by Al-Habsi. Well, what an impact that would have been. A mistake from Hector. Lofted forward. Complete missed kick from Hector, and Sardi gets half a yard, steers it towards the far corner. Al-Habsi with a good save. Here's Gunter. Time against Reading. They've got 12 minutes to try and rescue the game. Williams, Blackman. Away from Peltier, which is no mean feat, especially today. And he went to the floor as well. He's got a free kick. Nick Blackman gets away from Peltier there, and Amiobi just barges him off the ball. It's Norwood. Oh, it's a terrific save from Marshall, I think. I'm sure I heard a glove on that. It has gone for the corner. That's a really good hit, but look at that for a save. Well, the goal scorers may take the headlines for Cardiff tonight, but David Marshall deserves his fair share. Norwood frustrated that time, and it's Norwood with a corner. There's a free man over, it's Blackman, it's Marshall again! Well, it's a goalkeeping masterclass. It really is. I absolutely mean that. He looks unbeatable, doesn't he? A string of saves for the catalogue. Sent in by Norwood. Williams to centre, it's Marshall again! There is simply no way past. Great reactions from Marshall to tip it over the bar.
Listen, he's a very, very, very good keeper. He makes saves even when he's having a quiet day. He can make that one perfect save that keeps you in a game. And at the minute, he's in fantastic form.
I thought it was quite an even game. We had a lot of chances. The goalkeeper made a lot of good saves. But it wouldn't go in the net for us, and we conceded 2 goals from set plays. I thought the set play, the free kick that the referee gave just before half-time was very soft, very soft. And obviously the first goal was going to be crucial in today's game, and that's how it turned out.
Defeat then, Ian Hart, for one of your former clubs, Reading. I'll ask you about their defensive situation at the moment, but they've lost to a team who haven't scored since the 3rd of October. Kenwyn Jones, 4 games out, back with a goal. We're seeing the value of having someone like that, perhaps an over-reliance upon him.
Yeah, I think it was a great ball in, but I think Michael Hector will probably be disappointed that he let Kenwyn get in front of him, as you say, with the delivery that was in, Cameron just had to guide the ball into the goal. But yeah, 2 set pieces. I'm sure they'd be very disappointed.
That's textbook Cameron Jones, isn't it?
Yeah, well, Cameron was on loan for the last 6 weeks at the end of the season at Bournemouth, and he scored probably one of the most vital goals, and it was the way Ipswich were losing the game, and he came on in the latter stages and flicked the goal in. So, you know, he's great in the air, but if there's a delivery there, he'll get on the end of it.
Very quick word on Reading. 10 goals now conceded in the last 5 games.
Yeah, I think they're probably missing Paul McShane, the captain. He's someone that'll get to grips with the defenders, and yeah, the sooner they get him back, the better.
Yeah, it didn't happen for them today. We'll have more from the Championship, though, in a couple of minutes' time, including Manager and Player of the Month. See you shortly. Welcome back to Football League tonight on Channel 5, and the end of October means time for the monthly awards in the Football League.
In the Sky Bet Championship, it was a Brentford double. Reluctant manager Lee Carsley and goal-scoring midfielder Alan Judge were named the manager and the player of the month, respectively. Double celebration for Judge after a recent new arrival. He's been dodging the night feeds with a trip to Blackburn.
Brentford are enjoying life under Lee Carsley, and in particular on the road, so no surprise that 2 wins in their last 2 away days from West London threaten to turn into 3, courtesy of Lasse Vibe. But despite a disappointing run of recent form, which has brought just 1 victory in their last 5, Blackburn responded with a goal out of nowhere, literally. Tom Lawrence probably meant that as a cross, but hey, they all count. Lawrence decided to be a little more direct shortly afterwards, but this time Brentford keeper David Button saw him coming and managed to keep him out with a little help from the post. Button was to be the hero again for the visitors after half-time. On this occasion, Ben Marshall, the man, denied, as Carsley's side headed away from his former club with a hard-earned point.
It's obviously a tough place to come. They always make it difficult for you playing here. And it was a decent point, you know, probably unlucky not to get 3 in the end.
Birmingham arrived at in-form Fulham without a win or goal in their last 3 games, but the journey back to the Midlands will have felt much better with all 3 points and a bag full of goals. Stephen Gleeson got the ball rolling on 19 minutes, and just 3 minutes later they struck another decisive blow. Clayton Donaldson was lurking with intent before being upended by Joe Lewis, who got a yellow card for his trouble. Birmingham, though, got a penalty that Paul Caddis converted, and Fulham's afternoon suddenly looked like a long one. Kit Simon's side had only lost once in their previous 6, but the visitors just looked sharper, a point perfectly illustrated by Jacques Magoma's persistence and John Terrell's first goal in almost 3 months. A miserable afternoon for the Craven Cottage faithful took another gloomy turn when James Husband had a mad moment. That his second bookable offence inside a minute, and also the end of his contribution. But the 10 men of Fulham did at least make a fight of it. Alex Kacaniklic sneaking in unnoticed at the far post to offer a glimmer of hope. Gary Rowett's side, though, simply weathered the storm, and they extended their lead and tiring Fulham legs with a well-worked 4th. Michael Kieftenbelt caught the eye with the fancy footwork, but the finish came from the boot of Donaldson. The match was into the 3rd minute of injury time when Fulham scored another mini-moral victory. Ross McCormack pouncing on a lucky rebound to collect his 11th of the season. But remember the name of 19-year-old Viv Solomon Otterbohr. The Birmingham youngster produced a moment of magic that will linger long in the memory as he scored his first senior goal. For Fulham, it was an afternoon they'll want to forget.
We counter-attacked brilliant and we kept our shape really, really well. And I just felt as though the game would suit us. We were excellent down there last year and we created an awful lot of opportunities, probably the best we played last season. This season exactly the same. And when I look at it really, I look at the amount of actual chances we've created. I think we've created something like 30 chances as the away side and really could have and should have gone on and scored a lot more goals.
We came back from 2 goals last time here against Reading, but you can't continually do it. And obviously to send it off then at 3-0 compounds the whole issue. I thought the boys, 10 men, were very brave at a real go. But you can't come back from these sort of things, you know, it's too much. And So defending the first half was terrible.
Fulham unbeaten through October and now in 2 heavy defeats in a week. It's been reported actually in the Telegraph tonight that Kit Symons is going to be sacked in the next 48 hours, so we'll wait to see if that's the case. A word on Birmingham, who went 3 games without a win or a goal and suddenly they score 5 in a fixture like this. Is it sometimes easier to take the shackles off and play without pressure and a bit more freedom when you're away? Yeah,
well, I think they've been playing some great football this season, and of course the last 3 games they haven't got the results that they wanted, but today they went out and they played with excitement and pace, and they took it to Fulham, and you know, it was a fantastic result for them. Yeah, it was quite a result. Where are you, Kelly?
I'm here. There's no League 1 and 2 action this week. The club's been playing in the FA Cup first round instead, and 3 of them have gone out to non-league opposition. From League 1, Barnsley and Crewe lost to Altrincham and Eastleigh, respectively, and from League 2, Wimbledon were beaten at home by Forest Green, joining Notts County, who went out last night to Salford. The lower division Sky Bet awards have been announced. Manager of the month in League 1 is Mark Robbins, who's masterminding Scunthorpe's recovery. The player is Aidan O'Brien of Millwall. The League 2 awards go to Plymouth's manager Derek Adams, who promptly lost 2-0 at home to Carlisle in the FA Cup, and Morecambe's Sean Miller. In other news, Swindon Town have ended their manager's search, bringing in former player Martin Ling. It's Ling's first job since being treated for depression. Swindon lost their cup game at Rochdale today. And York City have appointed Jackie McNamara as their new boss. They went out of the cup too at Accrington. Out of a job this week was Richard Money at Cambridge United. They beat Basingstoke today. And it's been another rocky week for Northampton Town off the pitch. The PFA had to step in to pay the players' wages, and the Supporters Trust has been continuing to raise the money needed to pay back their sizable debts. And this week saw the death of Brian Lomax, a Northampton fan who began the modern movement of forming supporters' trusts. Donations have been coming in from supporters of other clubs and ex-players such as Adebayo Akinfenwa. You can follow their progress using the hashtag #SaveTheCobblers. There was some cheer for Northampton. They had a fantastic win in the Cup today, 2-1 at Coventry. Joe Cole wasn't playing for the home team. He says he can't do 2 games in a week at his age. He can still produce terrific moments, though. This amazing free kick against Barnsley in midweek was his first goal for his new club. We're going to switch our attention to the bottom of the table when we come back.
Welcome back to Football League tonight. 3 more games now featuring sides near the bottom of the table. We will start at the New York Stadium.
This was a match that Rotherham's Paul Green will probably want to erase from his memory in a hurry. His back pass caused more problems than it solved, and when the ball eventually came back into the danger area from Kevin Brew, there was Brett Pittman to dish out the ultimate punishment. If that felt bad enough, even worse was to come for Green, who then wanted a little too much time on the ball. By contrast, Jonathan Douglas didn't, opting for the direct route to goal and rewarded with a beauty. Not a bad way to open your account for the season. Having picked up their first win in 8 in midweek, Mick McCarthy's side ruthlessly exploited Rotherham defending. Daryl Murphy finding the time and space to score his first of the season. Neil Redfern isn't enjoying the happiest opening spell in charge at the New York Stadium. This his 6th match at the helm with only a point to show for his efforts, and when Murphy helped himself to a second, it was damage limitation time. That said, there were some positives for Redfern and his men as they launched a comeback of sorts. Brandon Barker announcing his arrival on loan from Manchester City with a stunner. If that was impressive, Rotherham's second was even better, arguably. Matt Derbyshire won't hit too many strikes better than that. But the visitors were to have the last word through Murphy, who'd started the afternoon without a goal in 16 games and ended it with his first hat-trick. Football really can be a funny old game.
Saw some comment today about it's boring being an Ipswich fan at the minute. I can't for the life of me see that. It might not have been great over recent weeks. But it certainly isn't boring, not when you're 4-0 up and it goes back to 4-2 and end up winning 5-2.
Charlton's long wait for a championship goal ended after 26 minutes at the Valley. That's how long it took for Johnny Jackson to give his team the lead against a Wednesday side on an unbeaten league run stretching back almost 2 months. Suddenly, the Addicts' failure to score in 5 successive games was a thing of the past. Just before half-time, they found the net again through Simon Makianok. Both the meetings between these teams last season finished in draws, and by now Wednesday would have welcomed a point. Instead, they conceded again after 55 minutes, as Morgan Fox made things simple for Reza Guchanejad. Charlton were looking anything but a team in the relegation places, and interim coach Carol Fry was heading for his first win at the 3rd attempt. The perfect day would have yielded a clean sheet. Fernando Forestieri ensured that didn't happen, but it didn't really spoil an excellent afternoon for the home fans.
On the pitch, they worked very hard, every sliding, a lot of good mentality in the players, and they really wanted the win, and the desire today made a difference.
It's been a race to the bottom for these two so far this season, although Bristol City have flickered into life of late. Luke Freeman looked lively and perhaps a little unlucky not to get a penalty following a Mark Davis challenge. The visitors also came close to a bizarre opener when Prince Desir Guano struck his clearance against Kieran Agard, who didn't know much about it, but then neither did Bolton keeper Ben Amos. The home side have found points and goals hard to come by this season, so when Gary Medine was flattened by Nathan Baker, a golden opportunity beckoned for Neil Lennon's men. But Shola Amiobi won't enjoy watching that spot kick too many times, and Medine couldn't convert the follow-up either. With just one win to cheer since early April, Bolton fans were entitled to get excited when Amiobi made amends from close range, but the offside flag meant frustration for him and an unsatisfactory draw all round.
If that is a penalty, how can he not give Luke Freeman's? And how we haven't got a penalty today? I thought we were great. I thought we were the away team. I thought we looked for the win. I thought we were good today. Really, really good.
So Steve Cottrell not happy with the penalty decisions in that game. As far as the table's concerned, Hull went top in midweek and they stay there after their win over promotion rivals Middlesbrough. Brighton's first win in 4 means that they go into second. Burnley dropped to third. Middlesbrough and Derby 2 points behind them, and then Birmingham complete the top 6.
At the other end of the table, Rotherham stay bottom after conceding 5 at home to Ipswich. Bolton are 2 points above them, while Charlton's victory today wasn't quite enough to get them out of the relegation places.
All of which means, at the end of the day, Hull win again and Bruce's Tigers top the championship.
Brighton cannot be beaten. 17 games without defeat. That's a new club record.
And Murphy's off the mark for Ipswich. Last season's top scorer finally gets going with a hat-trick. Huge thanks to Ian Hart for joining us on Football League tonight. We're going to be back next week where we're going to be focusing on Leagues 1 and 2 because the Championship will be on an international break. You can find more content from Ian on our Football on 5 YouTube channel, youtube.com/footballon5. We're going to leave you with the goals of the day. For now, though, bye-bye.
Good night.